Hello everyone, and welcome for this second devlog on project Astreterre. I'm OraNN, and the Portals of Astreterre is an ongoing game, a 2D tactical RPG inspired by the Minecraft universe. Today we're going to see how I developed the beginning of the combat system and the turn-based system. For now, we go into the combat mode using the C key in the keyboard. In the future, switching to combat mode will be done in several ways. A creature moves to the player approaches a creature, the player attacks a creature from distance, or the scenario starts a combat. To manage the stages of the turn, I created a script I called timeline. A variable called turn is there to store the state of the game, and I use the match statement to detect these different status. So the states are placement, initiative, cinematic, player turn, active AI initialization, AI turn, waiting, change turn, resolution, and game over. At each completed step, the turn variable changes state and you can match the next step. Many of these stages are still incomplete or even completely empty. I mainly worked on two of them. The initiative step to manage the order of the entities, creatures and player, and the first bits of the fights in the AI turn step. To choose the order of passage, I detect the creatures and the player in the Godot node tree. This detection is done thanks to two types of custom nodes, the enemy type and the player type that I created as extensions of the kinematic body 2D nodes. Giving them a specific type makes it possible to detect them very easily and not to confuse them. I keep all of these entities in memory in a dictionary variable. They are arranged in the order of detection in the node tree, so I then draw lots to determine the order. It's completely random for the moment, but we can define an initiative system later. Finally, I identify the entity that plays first, the player or the AI, and we move on to the next step of the turn. The active AI initialization step consists of giving back the entity its action points. Each action point allows you to move one square or allow you to carry out attacks. It is also here that we will manage later long-term damage, such as the effects of harmful potions or poisoning, for example. In the movement phase, the player can only move. I have not yet implemented the possibility of attacking. In the AI turn step, the timeline script starts functions that are directly written into the script on each creature. It will eventually detect whether to move on to the next entity. Creatures, on the other hand, detect the player's position and calculate a route to the nearest adjacent square. The management of squares occupied by obstacles or other creatures is still incomplete. I rely on a classical A-star type pathfinding algorithm. I mostly use the code elements from GD Quest's tutorial on tactical RPGs. I took it over little by little and I continue to adapt it to my needs. For now, the passage of the turn is done manually. I have to press the T key or click on the button to go to the next entity. We match the change turn step. At this moment, the code takes again the dictionary which contains the list and the order of the units to select the next one and start again. There is still a lot of work to do, but we can see that the units can already act one after the other. inflicting damage with a basic attack without animation, you're going to see the game over when the player has no more points of life. And now the game over. The combat interface is provisional. It is activated when switching from free exploration mode to combat mode. The left bar contains the symbol of hunger in Minecraft, the little legs, which in Astreterre represents the action points. At the bottom right, the Minecraft clock is the button to skip the turn. It is animated when it's the AI's turn and stops when it's the player's turn. Right above, you can see one of the latest features I code. The icons of the different fighting entities are displayed in their order of passage. At the end of each turn, the icons go to the box above. Each cell is a texture button with the texture of an empty cell, and there is another texture button on top of it with no texture. The script associated with the grid of the buttons will manage the display of the texture. At each change of turn, thanks to a signal, the script will retrieve the list of entities and their order of passage. What was a little difficult to code was the algorithm to fill the 6 squares with textures when there are less fighting entities. For example, only 2 creatures and 1 player. The 6 textures must still be displayed in the correct order. I still have to clean up my code and optimize it because I have some functions that are a bit redundant. Everything now works in-game regardless of the number of creatures. The icons on the bar at the bottom will be shortcuts to actions for both exploration mode and combat mode. These shortcuts are not coding at all. We will have devlogs dedicated to the game interface later. I hope you like this devlog. It's quite complicated to sum up several months of development on the combat system. And yet you have seen that there is still a lot to improve and add. Do not hesitate to comment. You can also subscribe to not miss the next devlogs. I also broadcast at least one stream every week on Twitch for Astreterre, and I upload it on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who helps this project, and in particular to Mimish. See you soon! Bye bye!